Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about how to approach industry partners for funding your research or identifying a research project with them. I have done that in the past, and since my PhD, I have been extensively involved in working with industry and driving industry projects. So, in today's session, I'm going to walk you through all the steps that you need to follow so that you can secure an industry project or even secure industry funding from your industry partner. All right, so let's get started. So, first thing that comes to your mind in terms of when you're starting to think of an industry project is how to identify potential industry partners. That probably is the first step in getting to initiate a research project in partnership with industry. So, let's see what we can do. What you need to do for this is look for companies that align with your research or your university's research capabilities, expertise, goals, and values. I mean, why is that important? Because if you are going to do some research with an industry partner and it requires specific infrastructure at your university, then your university should have it. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to continue working on that project. So, assuming that you are already working at a university or a research institution, you would have a good understanding of what capabilities your team has, university has, or you yourself have. Because there has to be alignment between your capabilities, because that is what you would have to showcase to industry partners to secure the industry project. So, keep this in mind. Next thing you should consider is companies that have an history of engaging in research collaboration with universities or those that have expressed some interest in academic partnerships. See, many a times what I have seen in my experience is that universities or academics, when they approach industry partners to secure an industry project, they are mostly focused on their own research and what they can do. Rather, you have to think the other way around. You have to think what is it that the industry partner is looking for and how can you blend your research or align your research with their needs or with their expectations. So companies that have already worked with universities in the past is the probably the first step that I would suggest you should do. And such companies already have the understanding of how universities or research institutions work. So you don't have to kind of walk them through the process or teach them in a sense that this is how work happens at universities or collaboration happens with universities. However, there is one challenge that I have found personally in my career. And what I have found is those companies that are already collaborating with the universities, they do not have, you don't bring too much value to them in a sense, right? But if you approach if you approach an industry who has not initiated or collaborated with universities before, you open up new opportunities for them. And that I have experienced that helps to build a strong and a long lasting relationship with such industry partners. And I have worked with many such companies when I have personally initiated this kind of a relationship and I have approached them and I have secured projects through the industry. So keep that in mind. If they have an history, it's well and good. If they do not, I think that is an opportunity for you to build that relationship with them. Next is explore industries that are likely to benefit from your research capabilities. I think that is probably the core of industry research, because the reason why an industry partner or a company would come and want to work with you is because you have unique capabilities that they probably do not have in-house within their organization. So that is the main reason that they want to come to you. So you have to identify two things, in fact. See, one is explore industries that are likely to benefit from your research. So that is one thing. But also think about what is it that you or your innovations can offer them. From the research capabilities point of view, from innovations point of view, universities are places where companies come looking for innovation. And you should be there to project that capability to your industry partners. So that is probably the first step that I would say in this process. Next thing is to understand their research needs. So there is no reason for an company or an industry to come to you if they're already working fine, if they do not have any problems or challenges within the organization. But on most occasions, none of the businesses are working properly or fine. So there are opportunities, there are challenges that these companies are facing, and your job would be to kind of understand where the research would fit in, so that you can pitch them or give them a proposal that this is the problem that we think you have, and we can help you solve it. So that is the second step. So understand their challenges, their strategic goals, and areas where they are seeking innovation. I think this is a very key aspect, that where they are seeking innovation, and if you can align your capabilities with their strategic goals or their strategic innovation direction, I think you have a winner. You can then identify how your research can address their needs or contribute to their objectives. And if you have done something in the past, you have some examples that you can showcase to them as well. So that also helps build up that credibility, that rapport with industry, that okay, seems like Vidhi has done this work for another company, and I have a I feel that I have confidence that he can do it for my company as well. So as you get more and more experience working with companies, and your capability to project your research improves as well. Next thing is develop your value proposition. So what do I mean by that? Here you need to articulate clearly how the collaboration can benefit the industry partner. Yeah. So you, as a researcher, as a expert in a specific field or discipline, you have to showcase your value to the organization. What is it that you bring to the table? Why should they work with you? So those are the things. If you can articulate it clearly, and not only that, I'm the best researcher, I have published hundreds of papers. No, that is not what we're talking about. And that is one common mistake that I see academics do when they are engaging with industry, that they try to tell industry or companies that they are a big shot researcher, they have published so many papers, they have this grant, they have that grant. But industry is not bothered about that. You have to understand, because industry people from the industry are not going to open and read your research paper. A majority of them are busy doing or managing their business, and they have some challenges that they are trying to solve. And when you approach them, you should be more of a listener in the first part of the game, right? You have to listen to their challenges, their problems that they're trying to face, that they're facing, rather than telling how good you are, right? The reason that you're already talking to them means that they have already assessed that it is worth their time to come talk to you, right? So you don't have to oversell yourself at that stage. In the initial stage, the objective has to be that you should listen to the company, to the representatives, to see what they're trying to say, what is bothering their organization, where are they going to, where they are going looking for innovation. That should be your objective at this stage, in the initial stage, like I'm talking about the third step, right? So at that point, you should be able to listen to them more. Yeah. And once you have listened to them, heard them, understood their challenges, then you can try to articulate how the collaboration will benefit both parties, what you can bring to the table and what they can bring to the table. So keep that thing very clear in your mind. For example, access to cutting edge research, opportunities to co-develop, or the ability to leverage university resources and talent. I think this is the core thing, that why industry partners or companies come to universities, because they can see that I can access a large group of researchers or talent in a specific field of interest. Because you can imagine, if companies are small to medium sized companies, they do not have a large budget where they can have hundreds of people doing research for them, right? So on those in those instances, such companies, when they approach university, they can see these three values easily, right? The opportunity that they can co-develop something in partnership with the university, and it is a win-win situation because even companies get leverage when they say that they are working with the university and they have collaborated and co-developed a product in partnership with the university. So I think it is not just a one-way benefit; it is both ways. They also have access to leverage university resources. Say, for example, your university has a huge supercomputer or a large data center or anything, any 3D printer, for example. And this requires a lot of investment, which companies may not be able to do. But universities have done it. They may have done it through their own investments, or they may have got funding from the government to set up such infrastructure. But the objective here is the infrastructure is there, it has to be utilized. And this is where university partners, industry partners can work with universities and researchers to help help them solve their problem, at the same time generate value that is equally and mutually beneficial. In doing so, or a kind of your in presenting your value proposition, you can also highlight previous successful collaborations. Yeah, I mean, I do that very often. Whenever I go and meet a new client, I have my slide deck, and in that slide deck I have all the projects that I have completed in the past, what technologies we have developed, who was the client, how long did the project take. All that information is there in the pitch deck, and once you show that, it builds up the credibility from the for the industry partner, because they can see, okay, working with Vidhi is fairly, seems like he knows what he is talking about. He has done these projects in the past, and if we come and work with him, it is more likely that our project will be successful. So you have to have your previous collaborations handy to tell them. But one thing may come up that you may say, oh, I haven't worked with the industry in the past. What can I do in that case? See, that is always the case. Even when I started for the first time, I did not have any experience, right? What I did was I worked with my PhD guide, PhD supervisor, and worked alongside her to manage the projects that she had secured. And after completing, so I became a part of a team that worked on industry projects. And then I could independently secure projects based on that experience. So you can follow a similar strategy to build up your experience, build up your credibility. Okay. So if you have developed some patents based upon the work that you have done, that is also a way to show that you have worked with industry and in collaboration with industry. Next thing is initiate preliminary conversations. So at some stage, you have to talk to them and maybe arrange a meeting. So you can share or listen to them and then share your thoughts. How can you do that? So you could initiate contact through networking, like attending events, going to industry conferences, or even directly reaching out to them. I mean, one of the things that, I mean, at this stage in my career, I often get contacted by industry partners through word of mouth. I have worked for somebody, we have delivered a successful project. They spread the word about us, and then we get more contacts, more clients contacting us. But when you are beginning, when you are starting this, I think you have to be present at many networking events that happen in your city. Your face should be familiar to people in the industry. And you have to remember one thing, or you have to understand one thing, that people do business with people. If they trust you, then they would work with you. No matter you are working in one of the topmost universities or not, if they do not feel comfortable with you as a person, the project or that business would not happen. So you have to be out there. You have to be talk. You need to talk to people. You have to understand what they are looking for, and in the first or second meeting, you don't have to directly pitch that, oh, I can do this for you. Just listen to them first, get a feel of what challenges they are facing, and you will find similar people attending other events as well, and you will bump into them. And then in this next meeting, you can say, oh, how are you doing? I mean, last time we spoke about this and this. How is it progressing? Have you made any progress? Are you working on it? Things like that. So you build up that network within your geography. And I have been living in Perth for nearly 20 years now, and so I have a good network of people within Perth. So whenever I go and attend the event, I will at least find 5 or 10 people that I'm familiar with. Any event, you pick any event, and those people who come there are the people you need to be connected with, because they are also networking, and they are also either looking for business or looking for a solution to their challenges. So it is a very good environment to be involved in networking. So this kind of results in the uh, initial conversations that can start. You can also leverage your existing connections through university, for example, or your LinkedIn network. So if you do not have a clean and a proper and a thorough LinkedIn profile, then I think it may be a good time to consider doing that, because a lot of people search for you on LinkedIn, or they may not be searching specifically for you. They may be searching for a problem that they're facing and needing a solution, and they're searching on LinkedIn to see if there is any post or any outcome, anyone who can help them. That's when, if your profile talks about that as a problem, or you mention on your profile that you have done this and this products or projects that have solved this problem, your profile will come up in LinkedIn results, and that will generate leads for you. So keep that in mind. It is very important to leverage your existing connections, because your first level connections on LinkedIn are probably your most closest. You probably know them in person. The second level connection may be friend of a friend, and so on. But no matter where, as long as your LinkedIn profile or even your personal web page, if you have, if you have a blog or if you have a website, keep it up to date. Your university research page or your profile on the university website is equally important. It has to be up to date with all your achievements, because people do not know what all things you have done. You have to tell them, and the more detailed, more up to date it is, more likely it will benefit you in getting new contacts. Another thing is also, you can reach out to alumni. That is also very important, because alumni have a strong connection with their university where they have studied. So if they are working in some organization and then they see, okay, I have this challenge and I can see everybody is working in this field, let me reach out to him. That kind of happens a lot. Start with an informal discussion, so you don't have to try to sell in the first meeting. You just have to understand, you have to get an informal, you have to gauge their interest, in what is it that they are trying to achieve, and whether or not you can help them or not. And if you cannot help them, that's perfectly fine. You can just point them to somebody else within your organization. You can say, oh, my colleague works in this field. How about you talk to them? So at least they would remember that, oh, Vidhi helped me to find the right person. He could not help it, and he was pretty upfront. But he also, what I liked about him was he pointed me to the right person at the uni where uh, my problem was solved, where I could get my project done or the research completed. So that is a benefit of having that initial conversation. On many occasions, when you talk to someone, you will get a feeling that what is it that they are trying to achieve, and whether you can help them do it or not. And sometimes, if you on your own cannot do it, you can always say that, me and my colleague can work together on this, because he brings in this expertise, I bring in this expertise. And I think these are the two things that you need to resolve, to address the problem that you're trying to solve. So that is also very important. The next thing is to prepare a tailored proposal. You see, what now has happened, you have had an initial conversation with them. So you have got an idea of what they want. And this may be the time to prepare a proposal specifically for them. So once you have identified a mutual interest, prepare a detailed proposal that outlines the scope of the research, objectives, expected outcomes, benefits, and benefits for the industry partner. See, if you remember one of my earlier webinars, I spoke about developing a research proposal. And you will see more or less the content that I have here is similar to that, the one that I have mentioned in the research proposal. That research proposal webinar was more focused on developing a proposal for your PhD research. But the research proposal, whether it is for a PhD program, whether it is for a grant funding, or whether it is for a industry funding, the layout is still the same, right? Because you need to mention what is going to be the scope of this research. Scope is very important, because scope creep can happen, which means you start off with something and then the client wants something more and something more and something more. So it is better to have a clear cut scope defined at the start of the project. And that is a good thing to be included in the research proposal. Then you list the expected benefits, objectives. What are the outcomes you are going to deliver? Is it going to be a report? Is it going to be a prototype? Is it going to be a mobile app or a web app or a software? What is the end result of this, and how it will benefit the industry partner? So if you can articulate all this information in a nice document, I think it is going to be very uh, convincing for the industry partner. And what I have done personally is I have not just used Word, for example, to design these research proposals. I mean, I can write it up in Word. I can finish the writing everything in Word or Google Docs, for example. And then I use a graphical editing software. It could be Canva, it could be any other design tool, to make that design look very professional. So try doing that as well. I have seen that it gives much better results when you reach out to industry with a flashy proposal. You can also include the information about your research team who is going to be working on this research project. Put their photos if possible, but do take consent of all the people in your research team. Include timelines and budget, and all the any necessary resources or facilities that you would need or you would bring to the table through this research proposal. So this is also important. Once that is done, and you send the proposal to your client or to the industry partner, because it is still not a client, to review and consider, the next thing that should come up in the discussion, and it always comes up in the discussion, is what about IP or what about intellectual property? So when you are working with an industry, the research that you are going to do, the industry or the company's perspective is how can they benefit out of this research, and that benefit is tangible financial benefit, right? So if I come up with this product, if I come up with this algorithm, if I come up with this model, I want to sell it to my customers. How much money I'm going to make from that, and relative to that, how much are you going to charge me for doing this research? Not only that, they would want full IP protection, which means they want to own the complete IP or complete product or technology that you develop through this project. So discussing the IP, intellectual property, at the beginning of the project is very important. And this is typically done through your research university's legal department. So they would come up with standard industry engagement agreements or project agreements, which will have specific clauses about intellectual property. These clauses are then negotiated between the industry partner and between you. Sometimes the partner may want certain clauses to be excluded or removed or reduced. Then it could be done. For example, they may say, I want complete IP protection for the next 5 years, or next 10 years. So that could be a clause. We could negotiate saying that, how about we do 6 years or 7 years or something like that. So each and every clause has to be negotiated with the industry partner so that they are comfortable before you start working on the project. So be careful that you don't start working on anything until you have the IP sorted out, because this creates a lot of problem later on once the project has already started and you have not agreed upon IP. Early discussions should address how IP will be managed, ensure ownership rights and commercialization pathways are finalized to prevent conflicts later. So this is very standard procedure. Once you do it for one time, two time, you will be pretty straightforward. But this discussion with the industry partner is a negotiation. It is not a stock standard that you come up with these standard IP conditions and the industry partner would accept it. There is a back and forth as well. So what would happen is you will send a proposal, you will send this legal IP document to your potential industry partner. They would have their legal team review it, come back with some suggestions, which then goes to the university. University's legal team again reviews it, and this can go back and forth for a few times depending upon how many changes there are. So don't underestimate the amount of effort that goes into finalizing the IP, because that is very crucial element in working with industry partners. Next is negotiate terms and finalize agreements. I think I did mention that just now. So you have to collaboratively work on the terms of the partnership, including funding, resources, roles, and responsibilities. And this all has to be documented in these legal in the legal agreement. So it is already there, and what you're doing is you're negotiating on the terms. So how much, for example, how much funding will be provided? What resources will the university bring versus what resources the industry partner would provide? Who would be responsible for certain aspects of the project? All that is included in the negotiations. So in this case, specifically for negotiating terms, we are not only talking about intellectual property, but we are talking about all the other aspects of the project as well. So keep that in mind. Ensure that all legal and compliance aspects are addressed in a formal agreement, potentially involving legal counsel from both parties. I covered this already, so this is also very important. Next is foster the relationship. So what do I mean by that? Once the collaboration is underway, you have to maintain an open line of communication. You have to keep the industry partner informed about the progress of the project. Typically, you can have frequent meetings at the start of the project and gradually reduce it to longer and longer. For example, in the initial phases, when you are kind of understanding the requirements or documenting the requirements for your client's projects, you would say that, okay, let's meet up maybe once a week or twice a week to formalize the requirements. Then you have done the requirement, formalize the requirements, you will develop a research, a requirements document, which outlines that these are the things or the scope of the project. This is what we are going to do in this project. Send it to the client for review. Get their feedback in writing. Yeah, keep this in mind. You have to always get information from the client in writing, because you need to keep record of all the communication, all the discussions that you're doing with the client, in case in the future something goes wrong and you need to provide provide evidence. So keep all communication over email, some written documentation, some proof, and so on. And always keep an open line of communication. Always tell them that, okay, we are working on this, we are doing this, we will be getting back to you maybe midweek with some questions or with a revised report or whatever you're going to do. Keep that open line of communication and share your progress regularly. And if any issues come up, then you should resolve those issues. You have to figure out a way to solve the problem or the issues that has come up during the projects, and these issues will come up when you are working on a project. Then you have to look for opportunities to expand the collaboration and involve additional stakeholders from both the university and the company. See, what is going to happen is when you start working with a company, they probably do not believe on your capabilities or your strength, but they come to you in good faith, thinking that you are working at a good and a reputed university. So that brand value matters a lot. And then they say, okay, let me try giving a small project, to this. Let's say, I don't know Vidhi too much, but I have heard he has done good work for other people. But I still need to test it myself. I will work with him on a small project, and I will assess whether I can work with him, how well I can work with him, right? So once they have done that project, you have to keep in the back of mind that you need the next project to work as well. You need a project so that you can continue that engagement with the partner, and starting from small projects, you can expand and expand and expand and get bigger projects from these clients. And it is not just a one-way benefit. So when I'm saying that you secure bigger projects from the client, doesn't mean that client is not benefiting, right? The client is also benefiting because they are getting new products done, new innovation, new research that they can use within their organization, right? So it's a two-way street. And another thing to remember is you also are assessing whether you want to work with this client or not. So it's a two-way thing that is happening. It is not purely that you have to work with industry, that's why you have to work on with anyone. No, that's not the case. And I would recommend, or I would strongly suggest, that if you see some initial signs of incompatibility with a client, then better stop right there, because I have had some really horrific experiences where I was working with a client and then it just was not working, and then we had a big challenge completing that project. So if you get that initial hints or signs that this relationship may not work very well, then it may be a good to just back off, because there are always more opportunities. You can always connect with new people, and you will probably get some really good projects and new good industry partners to work with. Next is share results and celebrate your successes. See, once you have done a project, you have got the results, you got the outcome for your client. It is a time to, even if it's a small celebration, just get together, organize a evening catch up, evening drinks, or a small party or something like that to celebrate your success. Because this is a very crucial step, because this can result in future ongoing collaboration with the same industry partner. Okay, so you could share your outcomes through research, through joint publications, and it does not have to be a research publication. It could be a white paper that you co-author with an industry, with the industry partner. Or you could do a joint press release. You could organize events where you are presenting the findings of your research. It could be maybe a prototype that you have developed, a product that you have developed. It could be a report that you are that the industry partner has commissioned you to develop to do. And once that report is ready, you organize an event, you invite people from the industry, and you formally launch that report. So that is a way to celebrate your success and also reach reach out to people who will benefit from the research that you have done. Another thing that comes up quite often in this situation is, if you're doing research for an industry partner, they may not want the research to be published, because they want to use that secret knowledge that they have developed for for increasing their business, getting a financial return on their investment. So in that case, what can you publish? How can you publish? So it's a very important topic. I'm not going to cover it today, but I'll do a special another session on this topic, because I have done that with the industry partners that I have worked with, and I would like to share those ideas in a separate video. And next, the last step, I would say, step 10, is to begin your next engagement. And this is important because once you have proven yourself that you are capable on taking a project and delivering it on time, within budget, and to the best of the quality, what is next? The next thing is the client is happy and they would engage you in the next research or next project. And gradually and slowly but steadily, you build up your research, your industry project experience, and then off you go. So these were the 10 steps, I would say, to approach an industry partner and maintain that relationship with the industry partner. Okay, next thing I want to cover today is, what should you do personally to prepare yourself for this? See, what I have explained so far were the 10 steps to approach an industry partner, right? To secure a project, conduct the project, and deliver the project, right? But to do all these things, you need to prepare yourself with a few things. So I'm going to cover that now. So first thing is, you have to have an elevator pitch ready. I think I have mentioned this in a few other of my webinars as well, that elevator pitch is a simple, short explanation of what your capabilities are and how you can help the person that you're talking to. You can have multiple versions of your elevator pitch, but it has to be short. And the example that is given is if you enter an elevator or a lift and you go on to the second floor or third floor, so that is the time you have to tell the person with you in the lift, in the elevator, what you do, what you are capable of. So if you do not have an elevator pitch, search for elevator pitch on YouTube. There will be a lot of videos, and I will also do one specific one for all my followers on how I do it and how I deliver it. Next thing you have to do is to build a strong online presence. So if you have a university profile page, make sure that it is up to date and write it in such a way that it meets the needs of both type of audience. So who would be visiting your university research profile page or profile page? It would be other academics from other universities. So your content has to be academic in nature. It may be industry partners or companies, people from different companies who may be searching for something that you have. So there has to be a flavor of the content that meets the industry people as well. So keep a mix of both, keep a nice blend so that it is not too academic and it is not too commercial or industry focused. So have a nice balance in that. Update your LinkedIn profile, keep it up to date and regularly update it. Share some good and relevant content on LinkedIn so that your account remains fresh. Your profile has some new information on it every time. If you have a blog, I think consistently or regularly add some thought-provoking, opinion-based pieces, right? For example, and why is this important? This is important because if you write about a product, write an opinion about a problem that companies are facing or other, maybe a society at large is facing, and you say, this is a problem, this is how it can be solved, and this is how it can be solved, and you give your opinion why you think this is the way this should be solved. So what that is doing is it is making you as a thought leader in the industry. And such kind of articles, although not academic or research focused, these are very important to build your online credibility in a specific field. And if you do not have a blog, you can publish this article on LinkedIn as well. So you don't have to have a blog, but I recommend you have one. Next is you have to network at events and exhibitions. I have told this many times. Networking is the key. People should know you, and not only that, you have to be comfortable talking to people, initiating conversations. Otherwise, you may attend an event, but you may not know how to start a conversation, right? So the more you attend, sometimes it is not you have to start a conversation. When experienced people are at an event, they can easily figure out, oh, this person is probably new here, he doesn't know anyone, let me go and talk to them. And I do that quite often. When I see someone bit quiet, alone, not talking to anyone, I can figure out that, okay, they are probably not comfortable being at a networking event, let me go and kind of start conversations with them. And once you do that, they will start talking. But it is only the first part, that in who to talk to and what to talk. Once those two things are sorted, then they will open up and they will start talking. So you can be in both situations. You could be the one silent and quiet and you're approached by someone, or you could go and talk to someone who is new and you can feel that they are no one to talk to or being very quiet or not good at networking. So do both ways. Another thing is look for speaking opportunities, and this could be at a conference, at an exhibition, or at any small event like a morning breakfast or a evening sundowner or anything. Try to get in front of people, talk to, let others know, let people see your face and know what you are, what you do, what your capabilities are. Even a short 5 minutes opportunity to speak is well worth the investment. And I will tell you an example here. When I started a research center at my university, I was actually invited to give a small talk at one of the evening events. And when I gave a talk about this blockchain technology at that time, I was approached by an industry partner saying that, oh, we thought your work was really amazing and interesting, and we would like to work with you. And that opportunity to set up the research lab at the university came through that one speaking opportunity that I had at an event. So never underestimate the opportunity to be in front of people and talk to them, because you never know what who is sitting there in the audience. Yeah, so keep that in mind, is very important. Next thing is to stay flexible. And what I mean stay flexible, I don't mean doing ballet, but stay flexible with the requirements of your industry partners. Understand their needs, and be flexible enough to see how you can help them in achieving what they are looking for. So that is very important and crucial. Leverage your network. I already mentioned LinkedIn or any other events that you do, you have to leverage your existing network to get the first level of leads, or you ask your network to connect you or put you in touch with somebody who can help you in getting what you are looking for. It may be this could also be something that you can use to find a relevant industry partner. You can say, these are my skills. I'm looking for somebody with whom I can work on this, or if somebody is looking to solve some of these problems or some of these challenges, maybe I could help. Can you connect me with somebody in your network? And people will be very kind and good enough to connect you with such people. Next is be open for collaborative work. Yeah. So what happens is, when you are on many occasions, an industry project cannot be done by one single person, right? You have to have a good team that can work with you, and for that you need to have a you need to have a collaborative work ethic. So it is not just me or my project, it is we and it is our project. So you have to have that kind of a shift in your mentality, and that is very important, because from a company's perspective, company's point of view, what is important is that they want the job done. They are not very worried about who does it, either it's a single person or a team. For them, this is a challenge, this is what needs to be solved, and are you or your team going to help them make that work? So be collaborative in your efforts. Always focus on impact. Yeah. So this is very crucial, because in the end, you have to always remember what is the impact of the research, that work that you're doing with the industry, right? The impact could be a personal impact, that you can now lead and manage an industry project, and that is a tick on in your CV. It could also show that the projects that you have done have benefited the industry and the society as well. So that is also a benefit of doing this. So always focus on the impact and consider that what is the bigger picture, what is the greater value that you can generate through this engagement. Okay, so that is all I had to cover in today's session, to give you an idea of how to approach industry partners, and then what do you need to have or prepare yourself so that you can connect with industry partners properly in a professional manner and secure those industry projects and industry funding for your work. All right, so I hope this session was useful. Do look at all these 10 points that I have mentioned and follow them step by step. I have done this for over so many years and it has been so successful, and I wish you all the best in getting this to getting or applying this for your projects and securing your industry funding. All right, so that is all. Tomorrow's session is again related to industry based research as well, and the focus on tomorrow's session is going to be on industry problems. So how do you find industry research problems? And I will be talking extensively on that, because what happens is on many occasions there has to be the industry problems are not research problems, and what I mean by that is the challenges that in the industry is facing can be solved using existing technology or existing research, but it's just that they have not done it. or they do not know that such thing exists. So you have to be able to distinguish what is research and what is a industry project. So I will be talking on that. So do join in tomorrow, and I hope you have a good weekend. Thank you very much. Bye bye.